So thank you very much for taking time out and joining this session. My name is Gurpreet Singh and I'm a cloud solution architect by profession, and I will walk you through today's webinar on the AWS SysOps. So a few of the basics here. You might have a control panel and you might be familiar with it. So if you need to ask any question, you can raise a hand, and you can also type your question in the control panel in the question section. You can also chat with me in the chat section of the control panel, and that's how we can communicate, right? In this seminar, we will be discussing about that why cloud and why SysOps, right? What kind of significance it has, right? So you might be having a lot of questions on your mind that, why everyone is talking about the cloud nowadays, and how, cloud is gonna be overlapping with your existing role, right? And how you can enhance your skills, upgrade your skills to be cloud ready, right? So how exactly cloud is helping everyone over there. So first thing is why cloud. So we'll be talking about that. And second is what exactly this cloud computing is, and is that something new which has come up, and what exactly the cloud is offering to all of us. Then we'll discuss the different cloud services which are available, and what cloud services are suitable for me, or what are the cloud services which I can leverage to enhance my productivity, my environment, right? And we'll also discuss about that when we talk about the cloud, we are hearing a lot about the Amazon or Amazon Web Services. So I'll help you understand what exactly AWS or Amazon Web Services are, right? And when it comes to starting the training and the certification, so primarily there are different associate level certifications which are introduced by Amazon. So the two popular one are the SysOps and Solution Architect. So we will find out the difference between what SysOps is and what Solution Architect is, and which career path is right for you. So which is more suitable for you. All right. So if you're choosing this SysOps career path, so what to expect in the SysOps, right? What your roles and responsibilities will be. So what you will be doing once you become your cloud SysOps or the AWS SysOps, right? So a lot of good topics coming up here. Let's get started here, right? So I think cloud has been around us from quite a long time, but I think from past 2 to 3 years, there is a lot of buzz around cloud, right? That what exactly the cloud is offering. As you know, we are becoming a more tech savvy. We are having a more and more services which are available on the net. And as we are having a more number of users, internet users who are consuming those services, right? So this particular domain is expanding exponentially, right? And these days we are having most of all the devices which are internet enabled. You can connect them with the internet, so that you can track them, you can interact with them over the internet, right? We do have a lot of video streaming platforms where you can watch videos, your favorite programs online. You can stream your music as well, right? You can actually work with all your files online. You need not to store them on your local space. So you can keep all your files, all your data on internet on some shared space, right? Then again, you do have ebooks libraries, like you have a Kindle, which helps you read the books online over there. You can keep your library in e-library, so you really need not to carry your books everywhere. Just log in or connect to the internet from any place, and you are very good to go. And in terms of videos, so videos on demand, I might have heard about the Netflix, right? And on the internet TV, you have other options as well, like YouTube and other stuff which is coming up, right? All that data, huge data, is we have, which we need to manage, right? Then again, we have a different applications which are collecting the data from the various sources and providing you a kind of a snapshot summary overview which you need, right? So in short, in a very short, though, we have a lot of data, and we have a multiple challenges around it, right? We have a lot of data and we have multiple challenges around it. What kind of challenges? That how do I manage this kind of huge data, right? And this data is actually growing exponentially with every passing day, right? So in our old traditional infrastructure management ways, we used to store that on the hard disk, external hard disk, and the external storage, right? So those are the kind of an option which were available, but it was having a lot of kind of a challenges when it comes to managing it. So as you know, the experts are forecasting, so this data is actually gonna grow a lot. Let me share some more statistics with you here that you know what kind of a data growth we are actually looking at. So what to expect in a you know time to come. Okay, all right. So uh, let me search that on the Google and share that slide with you. So this is something which I searched on the Google, and it says that yep, between 2013 and 2015. So this is what exactly the data growth which has happened, right? So a lot of different type of data which has you know grown very you know exponentially in a format that unstructured data as well as a structured data, and we had a challenge to keep that data, to process that data, to you know archive and store that data for a longer term as well, right? So this was the data slide shared by Oracle. That is what they have shared, and you'll find a lot of other slides available on the internet which actually tells you you know the statistics for the data growth which is there. Okay, there's a one more article which shows us, you know, the how exactly the data is growing, which we need to manage, right? And it is actually forecasting that what all the data we have today in 2017, so we'll be having a 3 times by 2020. So in just next 3 years, so it's gonna triple, right? It's gonna triple. The data is gonna triple. So this is a huge challenge for all the organizations who are dealing with the different type of data, right? And the other challenge we have is when there's a huge data. So earlier we were concerned about the cost that in old days the cost of the storage was kind of a very high, right? So we were kind of a concern whether to keep that data, whether to collect that kind of a data which I might need later. So now these days the storage is becoming very cheap, right? It's becoming very affordable, and again the prices of storage are all-time low here. If I show you the comparison here about the storage prices for the last few years, and if you see that that this chart shows that the cost per GB, right? What was the cost per GB when we started back in 1980s, right? So I think we were spending millions of dollars for a GB of a data to store, right? And that has come down very cheap rate, right? Nowadays I think if I look at this chart, it says in between somewhere around 2003 4 the data storage cost has come down to just under $1 per GB. And if I talk about 2015-16, so looks like just a 10 cent per gig. So that's a cost. So that is very cheap to store the data, right? The storage has become so cheap. But other challenge which comes with it is, when I have a petabyte of data, when I have a huge data which I need to store, I can buy a big storage arrays from the different companies, right? I can buy the big storage arrays from the different companies there. So what happens when we purchase those big arrays? For example, I have bought a capacity of let's say 2 petabyte. Two petabyte of a storage I have bought from a storage vendor. It may be IBM, it may be EMC, it may be NetApp, right? Any of the storage vendor. So that happens is if I'm buying this storage today, let's base on a 16th of August. 16th of August. So I'm paying all that cost upfront to the vendor, right? So I have already paid that money to the vendor for the 2 petabyte of space, right? So I'm not gonna consume that space on the day one, but I have already invested a huge money in that, right? So on 16th August, so this is a kind of money which I have already invested, right, with this storage, and I'm not gonna consume that from the day one, right? So maybe over 1 year, I may only be consuming it just 10% of it, right? I may only be consuming it 10% of it. So that means there is a wastage of 90% of my money which I have invested, right? Which I'm not consuming it, right? So that's where the cloud is going to help you and assist you with this kind of a challenges, right? So these are the challenges everywhere, not only with the storage, right, but with the compute capacity as well, right? So let me cover the storage part first, right? So if I'm moving my data onto the cloud, so what happens is if I'm consuming let's say 250 GB on the first week or on the first month, so my first month bill will be only 250 GB because I will be only paying for the storage which I am actually utilizing it. I'm not going to charge for the 2 petabyte, but I'm only paying for 250 GB, which actually I am using it, right? So it makes a lot of sense. So it is much lower cost, much cheaper as if I compare to the cost of a 250 gig as compared to 2 petabyte of a storage here, right? So this is a one example, right? And other challenge was, in terms of the compute space. Let's suppose I want to deploy an application or I want to deploy a database. So what happens is if I'm going to deploy a database or if I'm going to deploy a compute services, I need to do some math, right? I need to do some math that, okay, I'm thinking that my database will be used by 100 users, right? And I will be having some 500 gig of data which will be stored onto the database, right? I need to make some kind of an assumptions, right? I need to put some kind of a formula in place. I need to do some kind of assumptions that, what kind of a requirement I do have for my hardware, right? So when I'm doing the math, then I will arrive on some kind of a figure that, okay, for the initial assumptions, I can say, okay, I need a 8 CPU and I do need a 64 gig of RAM to start with. So this kind of a hardware is good enough for me, right? So what happens in this case is, when you are actually guessing the capacity, when you're trying to, do some math and try to calculate the capacity, what exactly you do need. So the challenge stays is you might under provision it or you might over provision it, right? It may never be accurate in the way, it will never going to match the demand, actual real demand, real production demand, which will happen, right? You will find that, either the server you have chosen is actually kind of a small server, or actually you have chosen a big server in which, you have some kind of a resources sitting idle which are free, right? So this problem is again solved by the cloud services. You can pick up a service. You can start with any of the server. You can start with, say, okay, from the day one, I just want to start with the S2 CPU, right? And let me say I want to start with the 16 gig of RAM, right? That is on the week one. If the load is going up, so what we need to do here is, we will add more capacity to it on the fly, right? Or I will have a tool, and I'll request my cloud tools to monitor the usage, and I say, okay, CPU is going higher than 70%, then add more 2 CPUs to my server, right? And if my CPU utilization is going below 30%, remove 2 CPUs from it, right? So I am actually varying the hardware usage depending upon the requirement I have, right? I'm not just blocking or reserving the capacity whether I'm using it or not, right? I'm just going with the flow. As I need, I will provision it, I will pay for it, and as I don't need, I will just go and decom that, right? So that's the power of the cloud. That's a kind of a benefit of the clouds in terms of all the infrastructure space which is provided by the different cloud vendors. So the reason it is getting it is getting very popular with everyone these days, right? So cloud is a solution when it comes to managing your infrastructure, right? When it comes to managing your infrastructure, so cloud can help you with all the requirement you do have with the in terms of a storage, in terms of compute capacity, or whatever it may be with respect to the infrastructure, right? So local system, limited space, you have a lot of data which you want to store. So go ahead and utilize the space on cloud. right? So cloud can help you store, manage all that data. So you don't have to guess the capacity. You have unlimited space available in the cloud, and you will be only paying for what all you are going to use, right? Okay, so what exactly the cloud means, right? We have been discussing this cloud. So what exactly, where the storage will be, right? Where this server will come from, right? So this all servers are actually owned by the cloud providers. So we have a lot of cloud providers who do provide these services. So they have set up their own data centers. So they have purchased these big storages. They have purchased the big hardware for us, and we are actually renting it out from them, and we are just paying the rent for using those services the time we are just using it, right? So whenever we are actually consuming those resources, right? So we are saying that we are using the cloud resources, right? So the best part is they are available over the internet. You can access and consume your softwares, your applications, your data over the internet, which is available from the cloud, right? And let's check it out. What how exactly this is working, right? So whenever you are planning for any kind of an application, so it comes with the different tiers of it, right? A multi-tier kind of an application. You have a front end, you have a middle tier, and then you have a back end, right? So a front end usually which can be accessed by the end users via browser over the internet. So middleware are the kind of an application which actually receives the requests from the users and help you process that request with the backend databases, right? So they store the information at the backend, right? So this is a very popular multi-tier architecture, and the same is available in the cloud computing as well. All right, so this is something which we have been discussing previously, that why cloud computing, what are the benefits of it, right? It's on demand. You just can provision it on the fly very quickly when you actually need it. So you have a stability. You can actually scale out, or scale up or scale down, right? Depending upon the requirement you have. If you think that you are using a small server and that small server is not able to cater to your requirement, you can actually quickly move up. You can actually switch to a bigger server, right? So scalability in minutes it will give you, right? And you're gonna pay for only the time you are using it, right? You are only using it, and you are only focusing on utilizing the infrastructure, not exactly the other associated task, right? How my physical server will be secured, how I need to obtain the licensing for setting up the data center, right? And how I need to maintain the licensing, how I need to maintain the hardware at the back end, who will do the hardware replacement, right? Who will provide the uptime of those hardware? So that all that stuff is gone away from your mind. You'll be only focusing on consuming these services, right? So that's how you can use your skill and knowledge to actually apply on the work which is more important for you. If you are a developer, so you might want to just focus on the development part of it, right? Why do you need to worry about that? Is your operating system secure, patched or not, right? It is getting updated regularly or not. So leave that task to the experts. Let them handle that part. You just focus on your area, wherever your expertise are in, right? And all whatever you are consuming, it is actually measured, right? It is measurable. You can set some kind of a benchmark. You can analyze your consumption. You can analyze the trends of your consumption, that how much you are using what type of services, right? How much you are using in terms of compute, how much you are utilizing in terms of a storage, right? So all that part, you can actually measure that. Okay, so all these services, whichever services you have, right? Sometimes you use you just use an email service, right? Sometimes you store some of your document. Sometimes you try to edit those documents online. Sometimes you try to edit your pictures online, right? Transform those pictures online. So there are a lot of services which are available on the cloud, right? And we have actually segregated those services depending upon the which category that service falls in. Okay, we have distributed them on the basis of, yeah, are they part of a PaaS, are they part of a SaaS or IaaS, right? So when we call a PaaS, it's a platform as a service. When we say SaaS, it is a software as a service. And when you say IaaS, so it is an infrastructure as a service. So let's look more closely on each of these services, because whenever you talk about the cloud, so these are some of the stuff which comes first, right? So SaaS is a software as a service. So that means you are consuming the software without worrying about that on which platform it is hosted, which infrastructure it is hosted, right? Platform means what kind of an operating system is there underneath it, right? It may be Windows, it may be Unix, right? And you are not really worried and bothered about it. You are just focused on consuming these SaaS services, right? Example is the online storage you have, right? You have a Google Drive, you have a OneDrive from Microsoft. So those are the kind of these services which are given to you. You're not bothered about where they are coming from, right? Uh, uh, online Google Docs, right? Google Docs, something which you are using, documents editing, you are consuming those online, right? You're not bothered about that on which operating system those packages are installed. Office 365, right? Office 365 is a very good example for your software as a service. So that is an online software which you are going to consume via your browser. So you're not really concerned about from where it is hosted, from where it is being served to you. You are just consuming that piece of software. Your email services, right? Your Gmail, your Yahoo, your other email services. So email services are again kind of end services which end users are consuming it without worrying about that, where my mail server is actually working, right? On which platform it is working, which hardware it is working on. So those kind of services where you're actually not worried about the underneath hardware, underneath the platform. So you don't worry about it, you don't manage that part. So we call that as a software as a service, right? So and next is a platform as a service. So platform actually gives you more flexibility, right? For example, if you have a software which requires a specific operating system and on which it's going to run, maybe you have developed some software, maybe some financial accounting software, and it has a requirement that, okay, it is only going to work on Windows Server 2016, right? It is only compatible with Windows Server 2016. And your organization has having a requirement that, okay, you are actually going to use that software. So you can go ahead and pick up a PaaS services in which you'll be given a platform. You can actually build that up from the scratch. You can control that, what kind of patches, what kind of additional software libraries can go into it, right? And it'll be helpful for you in that case. And third one, right? We have infrastructure as a service. So this is gives you great flexibility. You just take bare metal, you just take a raw server and you actually install your own operating system on top of it, right? And on top of the operating system, then you can configure the software whichever you want to utilize, right? So this gives you flexibility that you have you can have your own custom operating system installed, right? And you can actually customize the operating system whatever the way you want, right? So the lot of customization and a lot of responsibility comes with the infrastructure as a service, right? So if you want to have a kind of a flexibility where you see that, okay, I want to manage my own infrastructure, I just need a server in the cloud, Let me install operating system, let me manage operating system, let me install software part on it, right? Let me create a platform on which I want to work on. Let me create the environment which is required to develop it, and then host software on it, right? So it's basically the last layer which is available on the internet, on which you can actually host your PaaS and SaaS services. Right, so more responsibility for you, because you will be responsible for managing the operating system, security of it, and all the resources associated with it. Right, so more responsibility as well as more flexibility. Okay, so lot of service providers these days available in the market. Like we have a Oracle Cloud, which is specialized in the database services. We have Google Cloud, we have Amazon Cloud, we have a Dropbox, right, which is this online storage cloud. So it provides us a services. We can just go and utilize that as a a storage for us. Right, so but the most popular are Amazon AWS. They are the leaders. Then we have a Microsoft Azure, which are very close to AWS, but they are on a second ranking. Then we have a Google Cloud, which are primarily at a third one, right? So they are the three main players we have. Let me show you some data here very quickly. We call this as a Gartner's Magic Quadrant. Okay, Gartner's Magic Quadrant. I'm searching this out, and here's what I got. Let me click on images here, and there are the images here. Okay, let me click on this image, and I hope you are able to see this image. Okay, so this is actually a data which is published by one of the data analytics company, which we call Gartner, right? They do publish this data by collecting the information from the various source, that how the different people are doing in terms of providing those services. So if you see on the right upper quadrant which says leaders, so in the leader space there are two leaders which are in the cloud market. First is the Amazon Web Services. So they are definitely the market leader here, and followed by Microsoft. And the third number we have is for Google. So they are the visionaries. So they are again trying to create some services in the cloud. Rest all we have a niche player. So they do cater to a services in a specific areas, right? So they don't provide all the services in the cloud. Whereas Amazon has actually invested a lot of time and effort in terms of building services which are purely cloud based, right? And I'll show you all that in a while here, right? I'll show you all that in a while. Okay. All right. Okay. Before I begin with the Amazon Web Services, let me know if you have any questions here. Let me know if you have any questions so far. So you can use your control panel. You can raise your hand if you want to speak to me. You can type your question in the control panel as well, right? So you have all the different choices to communicate with me. So if you have any questions on your mind so far, let me know. Let me know if you have anything. Okay, looks like all good here. Let's get started with the AWS. Let's look more closely with the AWS and then the SysOps, that what we are talking about here, right? So AWS services, so they do provide you kind of a computing services which you can consume, right, with the help of internet, right? Let's see that more in detail here. All right. So who are actually using these services which are being provided by the Amazon? So as you see, this is a great list. It's a very big list, and this list is actually growing with every day passing, right? So mostly all the organization, right? All the organization worldwide, they have some kind of a footprint in the cloud, right? They are using some kind of a services from the AWS, right? Maybe they might be using analytics, they might be using storage, they might be using compute, they might be using databases, right? One or the other services they are consuming it from Amazon. So you might find your favorite brand over there, right? You might find your favorite brand over there. I personally know few of the clients, but I think they are not listed on this screen. But major pharma companies, major FMCG companies, so all those organizations are part of the AWS cloud, right? So whenever we talk about the AWS cloud, so how exactly the AWS infrastructure looks like, right? So AWS infrastructure is actually made up of what we call regions, and regions are multiple data centers, right? Regions are a collection of zones, so zones are multiple data centers. So let's see more closely. So I can say that, okay, I have a one region and I have another region. So each region will have a collection of multiple data centers in it, right? There will be multiple data centers in it, right? In India, we have a region in Mumbai, right? And in Mumbai, we have two data centers, two availability zones in that, right? To make it redundant, to give you high availability in that. Okay, this is a world map that where all the AWS is having their presence, right? And as you see, they are everywhere, right? They are everywhere, and they are also setting up some new data centers as well here, right? And the number which you see in mentioned in the red circle is actually that how many data centers or the how many availability zone they do have in that geolocation, right? So they are kind of everywhere, and they are still expanding it. Okay, how to choose the right region, right? In which region should I work? Because there are a lot of regions available worldwide. So one factor may be the pricing. You might want to check it out, because price different from country to country because of the local taxes, because of the the maintenance cost of the data centers. In some places the electricity is cheaper. Somewhere it is the electricity and property that is expensive. So all that, once it's computed, the price will be calculated. For example, data center in the London is expensive, whereas the data center in Ireland, Dublin, is cheaper, right? So you may find the same server expensive in the London data center, and we'll find the same server is cheaper in Ireland, Dublin data center for AWS. And it also depends, where your customers are. If my customers are in, from Europe, so I will try to prefer to stick to your Europe region, right, to have a better latency available. And sometime we do have a security and the compliance requirement. There are some regulatory requirements that the government want that all the data which I'm dealing with has to be available in the same country. It cannot leave the country, right? So data should exist within the country where I'm operating for. And the last one is the last point is the service availability, that you need to make sure that whatever the service you are going to consume, it is available in that particular region, right? As not all the services are available in all the regions due to various reasons. Okay, so here we are talking about the SysOps working versus the AWS Architect, right? So which one to choose here, right? So whether we should go for a SysOps or what we will go for the architects. What is the difference between these two? So architect are the people who actually understand the requirement, and those are the people actually uh, uh, those are the people actually who uh, understand that what exactly is required for end-to-end application deployment, what servers are required, what kind of tools are required for the front end, what we need for the middle tier, what we need for the database, what we need for the storage, right? What we need for the network, what kind of our network diagram will look like, what kind of a security we need to implement, right? What kind of a tool is a right fit for this solution, right? So they're the people who are going to design all that. So they need to have an understanding of all those areas, right? before creating a design. So once design is created, then we need the technical folks who are actually going to deploy that design, right? Who are actually going to create that kind of a environment, and then they are going to manage that environment as well. So that is the responsibility which lies with the SysOps, right? So SysOps, the people who are actually going to deploy it and who are actually going to manage it. So architect job is to just to create that design in the first place and hand it over to the SysOps. So SysOps people going to implement that, right? They are going to create that particular solution which is designed by the architects. So I hope this makes sense, right? So you'll be deploying, you'll be managing all the infrastructure, operating system, storage, network, everything onto the cloud, and maybe helping with the migrations of your existing resources over to cloud, right? And responsible for the day-to-day housekeeping job, right? For your infrastructure which you are managing, right? And you can always go back and forth with the architect to understand that what exactly he means, and if you have any challenges deploying the design, you can always go back and check with the architect that, yep, I'm facing this challenge, this is how we were expected to do, but this is now not working the way we designed it. So is there any improvement or changes required for it, right? So you work hand in hand with the architect in this initial stage, and afterwards you work with your customers to provide those services. So these are the roles of a SysOps administrator, right? You deploy, you manage, you operate all those services, right? Maintain the security for those, right? And use, identify the best operational practices so that you can follow those, and also keep a tab on the cost estimates, right? So in which way the costs are going to be consumed for the different business units which you are supporting for, right? The different divisions in the organizations which you are supporting for. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I want to show you for here, and you can actually experience a lot of different services on the AWS for free, right? You can go ahead and actually you can create your own account on a AWS cloud, and you can go ahead and try it out for free. So AWS offers a lot of different services which are free. Let me just show you that. Here we go, and I'll say AWS Free Tier, and this is the first link which I get here, and let me open that up. So here we are. So this page shows that what kind of a free tier is available from Amazon, and you can actually sign that up for free. You don't have to pay any money to Amazon for that, right? And what you will get in that account, right? What is there in that account for you? Okay. So what you get for the first 12 months, for the first year, is 750 hours of a virtual machine, right, per month. So that means you can run a one single server for the entire month without having paid any money to Amazon, right? You can run one cloud server. You can have 5 GB of storage space, right? You can have a 750 hours of a database, right? So 750 hours means you can also run a one database node for the entire month and try that out. 5 GB of a storage space, 1 million requests per month for serverless computing, right? This is AWS Lambda is a serverless computing where you don't need a server and you can actually still execute your code, and you can still execute your you just use the compute resources, right? And starting is very easy. Sign that up, and you can follow these tutorials. There are different tutorials provided to you online over there, and they are just giving you the overview about that service, that what exactly the storage service is, right? And you can actually start building with it, right? And for the details and the specific to or specific certification or the course, So you can always take up the course from Edureka, which are specifically focused on a certification and covering the topics which are required for that certification, right? So here is a long list. If you want to go in the details that what other services which are free, there's a long list given over there and below. Let me share this this link with you. You can actually go into the Google and search that out. No problem with that. So sending that link to you, right? Check that out in a detail, bookmark in your browser, so you are all set for that. Okay, let me show you if you want to sign that up here. So how you can go about that. Okay, let me open Internet Explorer here. Okay, and let me open up a blank page and let me go to the free tier here. Okay, so you just need to create a free account here, right? You need to click on create a free account, and it will ask you a few details there, right? It will ask you your personal details, right? And here you need to say that I am a new user, right? I am a new user, and provide your email, right? And say I'm a new user here, and I want to sign up for the new account, right? So you need to provide your email address, you need to type your password, and you just need to say create an account, right? And on the next screen, you need to choose that I want to use a account without any paid support, and you will not be charged for that. And while creating this account, you will also be asked to provide your credit card details or debit card details. Don't worry for that. This is only to validate that if you are a legitimate user, if you are a kind of a genuine user, you will not be charged on that credit card at all, right? Maybe sometime for the verification purpose they do charge $1, but they reverse that money to your account back just to verify that that account is a right account here. That's something, not robot is not creating those accounts, right? There are actually the legitimate users, valid users who are actually consuming those services here, right? So once you have created this account, so you are all set to enjoy the free cloud experience over there, right? So and if you're joining this course, so we are also going to show you how to actually utilize those resources optimally to complete your course on that, right? And you can actually do the real-time practice with me, right? I can actually walk you through that, how you can actually create your resources over there. If I go to my account there, which I have already created, I can log into that account, and once we log in, we see lot many services which are there, right? You'll find all those services over there, and first section is the compute services, and we have a EC2 servers, which we call are the virtual machines in the cloud. Now I do not have any running instances there. I do not have any server which is running. Now how can I create this a new server here, right? So I need to use the launch button, right? And I need to choose what kind of an operating system I want for that server, right? And how to get started with it. So these interactive classes which are conducted by the Edureka, so they will walk you through these steps in a live demo, that how exactly you can use this cloud services, how you can use the various services over there, be it a compute, storage, or a database, right? So this all will be part of this kind of a classes which real-time demos, and the instructor will be involved, and you can stop and ask the question at any time wherever you feel like you are not clear about it, right? So this is actually, I want to show you here that how you can actually create your own account and start working with that one. Okay. So this is something which I have shown you, that what all you will get as a part of the free tier, right? And that's pretty much all I have for you. And let me quickly show you that what kind of job trends we do have in the market, right? What kind of job market, how the job market looks like for the SysOps here, right? How good the market is. If you go onto the Google, I'm just opening a browser here. and actually they are thinking that the Gartner predicts the worldwide public cloud services market will grow 18% in 2017. So it will actually go from 209 billions to 250 billions, right? So that's a kind of a growth they are predicting, and it's again growing at a very fast rate, in which you'll find that most of the companies are trying to utilize the cloud in one or the other way, right? So a lot of very good job perspective in the market for the people who are having exposure toward the cloud, right? And definitely Amazon being the leader in that industry, right? So that's all, folks. So thank you very much for joining this today's webinar here on AWS SysOps. I hope you enjoyed it. So any queries, so please pass it on to the sales team at Edureka. They are there available to help you out. All right. Thank you so much for joining it, and enjoy your rest of the day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!